Welcome back, everybody, to the Healthy Habit Podcast. We're at episode number 76. What a ride it's been. I'm your host, Dr. Dayon of Healthy Habit Medical Center. And today, look who's back in town. We've got Stacy Faulkner representing Emerald Labs. Stacy's worked in the natural health industry since 2000. As a national educator for Emerald Labs, Stacy provides insight and understanding to those seeking information regarding better health through proper supplementation and self-care. Welcome back to the podcast, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And how are we doing?
Good to see you. I'm well. I'm terrific and excited to be here again. I always love our conversations. I really do.
We recently had a great dinner training here at Phoenix City Grill, hosted by yours truly here, Stacy, and that was a great educational session. And we'll be highlighting some of those products that we had at the training there. So thanks for always keeping us informed and in the loop and educated here, Stacy. We appreciate that. We're going to be diving into leaky gut today and digestive health, because literally 1 out of every 4 people that walk into the store here in the clinic are having some kind of digestive issue. So let's set the stage here for leaky gut. Tell us your thoughts on this. Why are so many people struggling with this?
Well, actually, when you start to really hear like the buzz around, especially with you guys, the naturopathic doctors, it's pretty much everybody has some form of this leaky gut. I'm thinking that we're dealing with a lot more stress. I think we're dealing with a lot more toxins, pharmaceuticals as one of them. Also, I feel like we're dealing with a lot more processed foods. And we're getting more and more into the processed foods, and we really need those whole foods for a really healthy gut and digestion and bowels and, avoiding esophageal damage, things like that. And so we just call them triggers. And so with a leaky gut health or a leaky gut in general, we can describe it to the consumers or your listeners right now, is it's basically, if we think of, I like to either call our intestinal walls like the castle.
Right.
And it's got a strong moat, or just recently learned you could call it like a drawbridge. And so our intestinal permeability is super important, because we only want to allow the little micronutrients in. The small little micronutrients want to come in to nourish the body and do what it's supposed to do. But unfortunately, what happens is they're called tight junctions. And so think about that moat is not really securing the castle, or the drawbridge is now fully opening and let all bigger vessels coming in. And so bigger vessels would be larger particle sizes that can get in. And when we start to have hyperpermeability, we start to loosen the junctions that are supposed to be being secure, keeping the intestinal wall, the epithelial cells tight and secure, right?
Yeah.
And so what's happening is those junctions start to loosen, and then we start to get in the triggers, as we call them. It could be dysbiosis, where it's like fragmented food, toxins, things like that. And so once those go into the bloodstream, we're really looking at the permeability is bad. We don't want these toxins in the bloodstream.
Right, because then the body looks at that like a foreign invader, and it starts attacking it, and then you can get all these different types of autoimmune disease when the immune systems just run haywire, right?
And that's a really great point, because a lot of people just think it's just going to affect their digestion. But there's so many things, not just like gas and bloating and diarrhea or like IBS, but just like you said, the autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's. I just recently read about that. Rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, fatigue. So this is really affecting so many different things. Chronic fatigue like fibromyalgia, skin issues, hormonal imbalances. So if we start to look at also creating more food allergies, all of a sudden you've never had issues with anything. Now you've got a whole bunch of food allergies. And what about brain fog? So we know right away, and you can discuss this with the listeners if you want, how in tune the gut and the brain is, and how a healthy gut is going to have a much healthier brain thought system.
100%. Oh yeah, they found like Alzheimer's and dementia and all those different conditions you mentioned, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia. They found all those things you just listed, a connection with leaky gut. Like all these patients also have gut issues with it. So then what comes first? Chances are it's probably the gut, since that's the first entryway into the body. And then all these other conditions fall afterwards.
And would you agree too that a lot of people don't notice it right away until it almost becomes like chronic or just
Right.
finally starts to affect them, we already have a lot of damage going on. Just like with GERD, when you're finally
Yeah.
affected by that acid coming up, it's you have to do something about it. So
Right. Or they've been dealing with all
anxiety,
these,
depression,
like, they've been dealing with gut issues for years and years and years, and then boom, they get Hashimoto's thyroiditis or
right?
fibromyalgia and pain all of a sudden all over the body. But
Yeah,
for years, they were having bloating and gas and issues with the gut. And then this other deeper condition all of a sudden shows up. So let's talk about the leaky gut powder. This is a really good formula, very clean as well. The other ingredients on there are none. Literally,
that
that's
that's
it's
really
not
great.
bad.
I pointed that out yesterday on the
Yeah,
training. I said,
none.
just
Yeah,
really great. It just says other ingredients, none.
nothing else. It's just
So
straight the good medicinal ingredients that we need. So take us
yeah.
through that ingredient label. What's in there?
So we've got L-glutamine in here. So L-glutamine definitely nourishes the little epithelial cells. Um, sorry, I have a mosquito in here.
Oh,
Um, nourishes the epithelial cells. Really, we're looking at the L-glutamine as an amino acid that's really imperative for intestinal health. There you go. And it really acts as a fuel source for the intestinal cells. And when we're talking about intestinal cells, we're talking about the epithelial cells.
right,
And it promotes a normal small intestine cell proliferation. So we always want these cells to be actively proliferating or actively, growing and reproducing on themselves, replicating, and just keeping the whole cellular integrity of the wall, as we also are going to call them tight junctions. So we
right,
want everything to be tight and proliferating and healthy. When we start to introduce the toxins to it, we start to need nourishing, and the L-glutamine is shown to really feed those little epithelial cells. Um, it really has been shown to reduce those tight junctions as well. There you go. And reducing inflammation is super, super important.
yeah,
And L-glutamine, a lot of people will note that in a lot of competitors' products, the L-glutamine is at we're at 2,000 here. L-glutamine is at 5 and 6,000. This comes with a 3-gram scoop. It's a tiny little scoop. Somebody can do a big heaping scoop if they want, meant for once a day. If you are diagnosed or you know that there's major issues going on, I think one thing to start with would maybe in the morning and in the afternoon or in the evening before you go to bed. You're definitely going to see a difference in your bowel movements in a beneficial way. It also tastes really good with none of the additives. It's got kind of a sweet, herbally taste. So overall, we're looking at creating an integrity for the gut mucosa. So that's your glutamine. Um, and
right.
would
You're
you
getting
agree,
you're
do you
getting
like,
per one scoop, you're getting 2 grams, two full grams of that glutamine, which is also a great fitness nutrient. Like a lot of bodybuilders and athletes take glutamine as well to support post-workout soreness and muscle recovery. So L-glutamine is not only good for the gut, it's going to be hitting many different other
and
organ systems and tissues as well.
that's a really good point to bring up because of the fact that a lot, and not all, I'm not saying, but just there's a majority that people are using the energy boosters that are
Right.
very high in caffeine, and the quality of the caffeine is usually not that great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress, and caffeine is considered a trigger for people with GERD and leaky gut. And so that might be really a double benefit for somebody that's doing a lot of those. I don't know what they're called, but to help them work out, they're like workout boosters,
Yeah.
high
Pre-workouts.
caffeine and other things. Yeah, I can't remember what they're called, but you know what I'm talking about,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Those pre-workout powders that people
Yeah,
take.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the
Exactly.
drinks, especially if we're looking at 300 uh, of the caffeine that's in one drink that somebody can drink right away. I think that takes a big toll on your gut overall and your brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, L-glutamine, we have the licorice extract in there, slippery elm and marshmallow. So even though the title of this product is Leaky Gut Health, it's going to help with really any kind of inflammation that's going on in there. Like if you have bloating or gas and you didn't really even get that diagnosis of leaky gut, you might still benefit from the product. Again, we're not giving formal medical advice, but the nutrients in here are versatile, Stacy, right?
Oh yes, I mean, so The DGL licorice and the aloe vera extract, this is also in our reflux health for people that are suffering from GERD.
Right.
So the DGL licorice, we're looking at kind of a mucilage. We're looking at keeping things kind of slippery. And also with the DGL and the aloe vera extract, we're looking at really healing and soothing, right? And some of these ingredients have a polysaccharide. So we're looking at like a one sugar kind of molecule. That's really, this is probably why the formula tastes kind of sweet to people. Right. Most definitely the slippery elm or the marshmallow. But these polysaccharides are very easy to keep things kind of healing, soothing, and smoothing things out. The slippery elm, what do we have in here? The slippery elm, it's a mucilage, especially when it's combined with water. And so I wrote that it creates a mucoadhesive protective barrier in the slippery elm there. And people will be used to these if they're frequent visitors to health food stores, because these are always as singular ingredients to, as sold as herbs.
Yeah.
The quercetin in there for sure, very interesting. This quercetin is in a Phytosome technology. It's called Quercefit. It's a patented ingredient that we purchased from a company called Indina. And so this quercetin phytosome, quercetin's poorly absorbed by the human body. So the companies put it into a non-GMO sunflower lecithin bubble. And so this is encouraging more absorption, quicker absorption, getting into the cell membrane at a quicker rate, and staying around longer in the system. So quercetin, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. So when we're looking at an inflamed gut area, this is where we're starting to look at loosening the junctions. Okay, the junctions loosen. Their inflammation is a major cause of a lot of issues in the human body. And so the Quercefit, it's 20 times more bioavailable than standard quercetin. And so again, it's acting as helping the cells in the intestinal wall to plug those leaks more rapidly. And that's from a clinical study. I also looked up trying to explain enhancing the barrier integrity. That barrier are the tight junctions I keep talking about. So we're looking at decreasing permeability right away with these ingredients. We're looking at increasing barrier integrity, or keeping those junctions tight and keeping those foreign invaders, like you talked about, out. And so we really only want those small micronutrients coming in, not food that's not digested. So fragmented food, no toxins like alcohol or pharmaceuticals. Caffeine, stress is also a trigger to start kind of losing the permeability. Right. And that's also what happens with GERD, is where the diaphragm starts to kind of not be keeping the stomach down. So the stomach starts to kind of creep up and push the diaphragm up, because the diaphragm started to loosen for whatever triggers or lifestyle or hereditary. So when that diaphragm starts to come up, that stomach starts to come up, and that's where you can start to get a hiatal hernia, and you're getting, inflammation in the esophageal wall, and that lower esophageal sphincter starts to loosen. So there's so many things that people need to be aware of with gut issues that can really be strengthened, healed with a lot of these natural ingredients.
I'm glad right. I was sorry to cut you off there. I just had a good flash of thought there about quercetin. I'm glad you highlighted the Quercefit, quercetin phytosome, which comes from that japonica extract flower. I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese ingredient, which I love. I love the Japanese, their food and pretty much everything they put out, their cars. They're very efficient, smart culture, especially when it comes to medicine and health. But people, when they hear quercetin, Stacy, they think of just the immune system, right? It became popular during the pandemic. But here it is in a gut formula. So I pulled up a study here that this is just one of many, many studies from Bioengineered, the journal, back in 2021. So only a couple years old, this study, on how quercetin helps modulate the gut microbiome, meaning it helps regulate it, and it assists in the microbiome of the gut. So quercetin is definitely involved in gut health. So it's not just for the immune system.
And it's not just like what everyone wants to think of as an anti-inflammatory and an antioxidant, because the flavonoids, originally, quercetin was looked at for capillary resistance and strength. And so you had a lot of people using it and being recommending, because that main flavonoid is the rutin in quercetin. And so that's very good for hemorrhoids. And so again, you're going to look at gut health. Hemorrhoids are another thing too, for people with constipation, not enough water, not enough secretions in the gut to keep things moving through.
Yeah.
and slippery. I'll keep saying slippery because it's really trying to keep intestines. Um, we're trying to keep everything just kind of moist,
Yeah.
not dry. If you're not getting enough water in the system, the organ starts to go dry, multiple organs. So we always want a lot of fluidity. Instead of slippery, I can say fluidity.
Well, yeah, we want our gut health to have that slippery nature to it, that mucilaginous, so things
Yeah,
keep moving through like a slide almost, if you can envision a slide,
exactly.
going down a slide.
So slippery slide and fluid. That's what we
Yeah.
want our good health to be.
Exactly. And you can see people with leaky gut and ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, their gut is so dry and ulcered
Yes.
and red and inflamed, right? We don't want that. That's where that slippery elm helps to calm
Yeah.
down that
So the
inflammation.
slippery elm for sure creates a mucoadhesive barrier and it contains a mucilage when it's combined with water. Also, the DGL licorice, I noted same things, stimulates mucus secretions. So these guys are in here for a reason. And Dr. Stengler is our formulator, naturopath like yourself, is very fluid or very fluid of the word of the day, is very
Yeah.
key with his cutting edge products on what he's putting in these ingredients because these products need to be, these formulas need to be result driven. So if we're trying to keep people off of pharmaceuticals and and he's creating formulas for his patients at the Stangler Institute,
Yeah.
these products have got to be result driven and therefore you can confidently recommend it. I can confidently recommend it. Oh, that's another thing. The leaky gut health for
Right.
listeners is $40 versus a competitor. Ours is a 2 month supply, and the competitor is a $44 supply at a 1 month supply. So we're really
Okay.
trying to add these value added ingredients um, and
Yeah.
really help out the
That's
consumer.
an important point. Again, folks, that's the Leaky Gut Health, doctor formulated by Dr. Mark Stengler, naturopathic physician, with the quercetin phytosome in there. Again, uncommon to see that in a gut formula, so I'm glad you guys threw that in there. That's a 2 month supply. And again, I want to highlight this one more time. The other ingredients in this formula is none. So it's just a really pure powder. That's a good thing about powders. A lot of people, they take just capsules and tablets when it comes to supplements, but powders allow you to take even more fillers out of there and keep it extremely pure, with the other ingredients being none in that formula. So again, Leaky Gut Health through Emerald Labs, the additive free company. And we're going to finish off here in the last 7 or 8 minutes or so here with Stacy talking digestive health. How is this going to be different then from the Leaky Gut Health product, Stacy?
So, okay, so the digestive health here, right on the front of the bottle, is going to show the consumer what's a little bit different about this product.
Yeah.
And about the proteolytic enzyme, it's a 250 of the proteolytic enzyme, which 250 is standard in the abstracts, is the DPP4. That is a gluten digesting enzyme. It's also been shown to have great success with legumes, albumin, whey. And when we're looking at gluten, we're really looking at the gliadin, the proline inside, the membrane. And
Yeah.
so this has been proven to be a gluten digesting enzyme. But then again, people usually will have problems with albumin. Whey, albumin is from the whey, and then legumes. And so this guy is good for everybody. You can take it before your meal or during your meal or after your meal, depending on what your issues may be, or if you're just trying to do preventative maintenance. Another thing to note with this guy is it's a full broad spectrum of digestive enzymes, as well as gentian root, fennel, and ginger in there. So some soluble fiber in there, but also those are all really good digestives, helping with the digestion and kind of soothing something if you're eating something that may be a trigger for you. So some people can take this with acid reflux or acid reflux health, but also here we go. Here's the blend is, so you see the gentian, the ginger, and the fennel. Wait, what did I say? Did I say fennel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentian,
Yeah.
ginger, and fennel, and then a full broad plant spectrum of the digestive enzymes, as well as the 250 units of the DPP4, which is a patented ingredient. And one thing also to recognize is a lot of people with celiac disease
Right.
or on the spectrum have a huge problem. They're low level producers of the naturally occurring DPP4 in our system.
Mm.
So normally this enzyme is something that we produce, but low level producers of DPP4 can really, the indicators would be showing symptoms of gluten intolerance. So celiac disease, low level producers of DPP4. So gluten intolerance. So that leads to so many issues with autoimmune diseases, weight loss alone, and then
Hmm.
just really not feeling very comfortable with a whole lot of foods. Autism spectrum, what we've seen, people on the spectrum, really what we've seen too, low level producers of DPP4. And what tends to happen too is the gut health issues, but also compounding the gut health issues with poor digestion or not being able to tolerate gluten products, especially American wheat. You wouldn't, a lot of people won't have problems with Italian wheat products
Yeah.
because our American wheat, unfortunately, is stripped of the hull from the wheat, as well as being enriched with synthetic folic acid, thiamine, and riboflavin, which is God knows where those synthetic vitamins are being fabricated or being created,
Yeah.
but it's really bad for people that have gluten intolerance with the American wheat. So something to be aware of when you're shopping for your crackers and your breads and things like that. But
Hmm.
with this guy with the autism, what we found too is they have high levels of candida overgrowth. And so when you can't properly digest, right, you don't have the proper enzymes and you have a high level of growth in there, that's going to lead to brain fog. And many people, not just people with spectrum, but coconut oil also would be very good for
Right.
people who have a gluten intolerance as well.
So this is the Digestive Health formula by Emerald Labs, and the big difference is this is going to actually help directly. It's going to help you digest the food better, whereas
Yeah.
the other formula we talked about is the leaky gut powder, which calms inflammation and helps seal up those tight junctions in the gut. Reduce those foreign invaders from the foods spilling into the bloodstream.
Right.
This is going to actually give you the enzymes to help you digest. Is that correct? Am I looking at it right?
Yep. You're going to have the enzymes in there. So you could really be on the leaky gut powder, the leaky gut health. You could be on the digestive. You could really be taking care of, you really could be taking care of your gut health by taking this product before or during or after your meal. Sometimes I recommend right before you start eating, so it can start getting in there, down there better or
Yeah.
faster. But this product is very, very effective. Also, if you are taking in foods that you know are triggers for you, I would definitely recommend a digestive enzyme. And then afterward, I would take a reflux health, just in case it doesn't want to, just in case it wants to come back up on you. Um,
Right.
I would recommend that as opposed to a proton pump inhibitor. But
So,
the digestive health here is a super powerful blend. You don't see the DPP4 out in a lot of them. And then
right.
again, for your listeners, Emerald Labs is completely additive free, gluten free, completely non GMO, common allergen free, absolutely no soy ingredients whatsoever. So our vitamin E complex and that we're using would be vitamin E is coming from non GMO project verified sunflowers from Dakota,
Hmm.
one of the Dakotas. I can't remember if it's north or south, but it's very clean
Yeah.
lecithin that we're using, and our vitamin E.
And I want to quickly highlight the proprietary digestive herbal blend in this
Yeah.
digestive health formula. Again, here's the picture there if you're coming into the store looking for it. If you're listening through audio, just look for Digestive Health or come talk to Stan, the demo man. He's
Mm-hmm.
giving out samples, he's giving out discounts. Stan's the guy you want to go check out. He's got, again, samples, literature, specials, and everyday low prices on all things Emerald Labs, the additive free companies. He's in the front of our store here at Healthy Habit. Tuesdays through Saturdays, you can come see Stan, the demo man, and he'll get you guys taken care of for all things Emerald Labs. And there's that digestive herbal blend formula that Stacy was mentioning. We have the gentian, ginger, and fennel. It's interesting if anyone's ever gone for Indian food, if you've gone to an Indian restaurant, and on the way out, a lot of them that I've been to, most of them really, have these little fennel seeds right at the door as you're leaving. They put these little fennel seeds there that you can grab to take with you to start chewing on it after your meal. I don't know
And
if
you
you
know
knew
what
that,
else?
Stacy.
You know what else? That's funny
No.
you picked that up because I love that. They also have the little tiny colored licorice candies that they mix
Oh,
with the
there you go.
fennel seed. So I make them for Christmas. So next time I see you, I'll have to save you a
That's
jar. I
crazy.
make those
Wow.
little, yeah. So I love that stuff. And so Ayurvedic cooking, Indian cooking is just so on point. With their turmeric, you never eat just raw turmeric by itself. You have
Right.
to put some kind of fat with it to help with the absorption of that because it's poorly absorbed by the human body, right? And so
Absolutely.
Coconut
So
oil, they cook with the coconut oil. They
yeah,
put the bitter melon in with the cooking, with the coconut milk, and then all the herbs and then the digestives at the end when you check out. Very good.
yeah, they know. They're one step ahead. They know that
Very
that
much so.
ginger, the fennel, the licorice, that's all gonna help that gut digest all that food that you just ate. And hopefully they're using coconut oil, like you mentioned. And a lot of the
Oh, yeah.
Americanized Indian restaurants are now using those kind of rancid vegetable oils
Right.
in the
And
product.
that
So
is unfortunate. But if you research good recipes, that you usually will you have a big tub and ghee. They're using the ghee.
yes, ghee.
So, but also like you mentioned earlier with the Japanese cooking, one step ahead for sure. We're talking, thousands of year old countries that are one up on us with, just a little over 200 years.
Absolutely. So coming into the tail end of our discussion here, probably the last minute, really, give us a little take home. We covered leaky gut. We covered digestive health, the formula there through Emerald Labs, which is actually giving you the enzymes in the DPP4 that you mentioned. Quercetin, Phytosome. We hit a lot of good gems today. So what's a good take home for our customers here shopping in the store, Stacy?
So the good take home is if we're talking about digestion only, depending on if you're having issues with your gut after you eat, okay, belching, burping, if you're not having a solid bowel movement, that's like, not feeling good, you're more constipated, that would also be for the digestive health to help you really digest your health, chew your food more, more often, like 22 times. We're trying to break it down in a small enough particles so your intestine can absorb it. If you're burping, belching, having acid come up, you might want to look into a reflux health that we have that's really going to help you prevent getting on a PPI. But most importantly, this leaky gut health powder you're really going to see and feel results pretty quickly, depending on the status of where you are. But if you are just wanting to add it to your daily smoothie or just something that you want to take at night, I would definitely recommend the Leaky Gut Health. It's affordable. There's no additives, like we said, none. It's a very comprehensive formula. Nobody else is adding the Quercetin to it. So we're looking at really healing and soothing right away that gut,
Perfect.
the
Amazing.
intestinal gut.
Yeah, it depends on really what's going on. And that's where people like Stan, the demo man, can help kind of gear you in because there's like 3 different GI products here through Emerald.
Right.
And then even standalone quercetin and NAC
Yep.
and
Yeah.
things like that. So that's where you come in and give us a little bit of an idea of what's happening, and we can help point you in the right direction. And we'll leave it there for today. Stacy, thank you so much for your time as always.
Okay. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, Dan.